50 people saw him. They passed him on the street. They sat next to him on the bus. They bought coffee from the same cart. They walked their dogs past his building. They nodded at him in the elevator. 50 people were questioned by police. 50 people were shown photographs. 50 people were asked the same question. Did you see anything unusual that day? And 50 people said the same thing. No. Nothing. Everything was normal. But everything was not normal. A woman was dying in broad daylight, on a public street, in front of dozens of people. And no one saw, or rather they saw, but they didn't see. They saw a man helping a woman who looked unwell. They saw a couple having a disagreement. They saw two people who knew each other, who were together, who didn't need help. They saw what they expected to see, what they wanted to see, what their brains told them was there. They did not see a murder. This is the story of a killer who understood something fundamental about human nature. Something that allowed him to commit murder in front of 50 witnesses and walk away free. He knew that people see what they expect to see, and he used that knowledge to become invisible. The city was Los Angeles, 1992. A city of 10 million people. A city where you could live for decades and never know your neighbor's name. Where strangers passed each other on sidewalks without eye contact, without acknowledgement, without seeing. It was the perfect place to disappear, and the perfect place to kill. The killer's name was Richard, but that wasn't his real name. Nothing about him was real. He'd spent years cultivating a persona so ordinary, so forgettable, that people looked at him and saw nothing. He was average height, average build, brown hair, brown eyes, a face that could belong to anyone, a face that belonged to no one. He worked as a delivery driver. He drove the same routes every day. He saw the same faces. He became part of the landscape, as familiar and invisible as a mailbox or a fire hydrant. He lived in a small apartment in a building with 60 other units. He paid his rent on time. He never complained. He never drew attention. When neighbors passed him in the hallway, they nodded, smiled, and immediately forgot him. He was the kind of man who could walk into a room and leave without anyone remembering he'd been there. It was his greatest weapon. He didn't kill in dark alleys. He didn't kill at midnight. He didn't kill where no one could see. He killed in broad daylight, in public spaces, in front of witnesses. And no one stopped him. No one called the police. No one even remembered, because he understood something that most people never think about. The human brain is lazy. It takes shortcuts. It fills in gaps. It sees what it expects to see. If a man walks down a crowded street with a woman who looks unsteady on her feet, people assume she's drunk, or sick, or on drugs. They look away. It's uncomfortable. It's not their problem. If a man puts his arm around a woman who seems to be struggling, people assume they're together. A couple. Maybe a fight. Maybe she's had too much to drink. They look away. It's private. It's not their problem. If a man helps a woman into a car, people assume she's with him. He's taking her home. He's taking care of her. They look away. It's not their problem. It was never their problem. Until it was. The first woman disappeared on a Tuesday. Her name was Maria. She was 28. A waitress at a diner near downtown. She finished her shift at 3 p.m. She was seen walking toward the bus stop. She never made it home. The police searched. They interviewed her co-workers. They interviewed her neighbors. They interviewed the regulars at the diner. No one saw anything. 6 weeks later, another woman disappeared. Her name was Denise. She was 34. A nurse at a hospital across town. She left work at 7 p.m. She was seen walking toward the parking garage. She never made it to her car. The police searched. They found her car. They found her keys on the ground beside it. They found no witnesses. A pattern began to emerge. Women disappearing from public places. Midday, early evening, times when streets were busy, when people were around, when someone should have seen something, but no one saw. Over the next 18 months, 6 women vanished from the streets of Los Angeles. 6 women who walked into the city and never walked out. The police were baffled. They had no suspects, no witnesses, no evidence. The cases went cold. But somewhere in the city, a delivery driver was making his rounds, delivering packages, smiling at customers, blending in. And in the back of his van, beneath the boxes, were the things no one would look for. Richard had a method. Simple, effective, terrifying. He targeted women who were alone. Women who looked like they needed help. Women who were vulnerable in ways that were invisible to the crowd. He would approach them in public places, bus stops, parking lots, sidewalks outside grocery stores. He wore his delivery uniform. He looked official, trustworthy. He was just a man doing his job. He would tell them he was lost. He would tell them he needed directions. He would tell them his van had broken down and he needed to use a phone. He would ask for help. And women, conditioned to be helpful, conditioned to trust uniforms, conditioned to believe that danger lurks in dark alleys, not busy streets, would stop, would listen, would offer assistance. And then he would strike. Not with a weapon, not with violence, with something far more effective. He would pretend to collapse. He would clutch his chest. He would gasp for air. He would fall to his knees. The woman would rush to help. She would kneel beside him. She would reach for her phone to call 911. And in that moment, when she was close, when she was focused on him, when she was not looking at the crowd, he would inject her with a sedative. Fast, clean, nearly invisible. She would go limp in seconds. And then he would stand. He would put his arm around her. He would guide her toward his van. To anyone watching, it looked like a man helping a sick woman, a husband helping his wife, a friend helping a friend. The crowd saw what they expected to see. A man helping a woman. A private moment. Nothing to report. He would open the back of his van. He would help her inside. He would close the doors. And then he would drive away. No one called the police. No one remembered his face. No one saw anything. Because there was nothing to see. September 17th, 1993. A Friday afternoon. The street was crowded. People rushing home from work. Parents picking up children from school. Teenagers hanging out on corners. A hot dog vendor selling lunch. A man walking his dog. A woman pushing a stroller. 50 people were on that street between 4:15 and 4:30 p.m. At 4:17, a woman named Patricia was walking home from the grocery store. She was 31. A teacher. A mother of 2. She was carrying a bag of oranges and a carton of milk. At 4:18, a delivery van pulled up to the curb. A man in a uniform got out. He looked at Patricia. He smiled. He said something she couldn't hear. At 4:19, the man grabbed his chest. He stumbled. He fell to his knees. Patricia rushed to help. At 4:20, the man was on his feet again. His arm around Patricia. Her head drooping. Her bag of oranges on the ground. At 4:21, the man guided Patricia toward the van. She was walking, but barely. Her feet dragged. Her eyes were half closed. At 4:22, the van doors closed. The van pulled away. 22 minutes after she left her apartment, Patricia was gone. And 50 people saw it happen. Police interviewed every witness they could find. They showed photographs. They asked questions. Did you see a woman in trouble? No. I saw a woman with a man. She looked sick. He was helping her. Did you see anyone who looked suspicious? No. Everyone looked normal. Did you see anything unusual? No. Nothing. Everything was normal. One witness, a teenage girl who'd been walking with her mother, told police she thought the woman looked weird. Her mother told her to mind her own business. People get sick. People have problems. It's not your concern. The girl believed her mother. She didn't call the police. She didn't say anything. She forgot about it by the next day. 50 people saw a woman being abducted in broad daylight, and not one of them recognized what they were watching. The detective assigned to Patricia's case was named Elena Vasquez. She was 42, 20 years on the force. She'd seen everything. Or so she thought. She read the case files of the 6 women who'd disappeared before Patricia. She saw the pattern, the locations, the times, the absence of witnesses. She interviewed the 50 witnesses from Patricia's disappearance. She listened to their statements. She heard the same words again and again. I didn't see anything unusual. It looked normal. I thought he was helping her. Elena began to realize something. The witnesses weren't lying. They genuinely didn't know what they'd seen. Their brains had processed the information and delivered a verdict. Nothing to report. She started researching. She found studies on what psychologists call inattentional blindness. The phenomenon where people fail to notice something obvious because their attention is focused elsewhere. There was a famous experiment. A man in a gorilla suit walked through a group of people playing basketball. Half the people watching didn't see the gorilla. They were counting passes. Their brains filtered out what they weren't looking for. Richard had figured this out. He knew that if he looked like he was helping, people would see a helper. If he looked official, people would see authority. If he looked ordinary, people would see nothing. He had weaponized the human brain. Elena requested surveillance footage from cameras near the locations where women had disappeared. The footage was grainy. The angles were bad. But she found something. In the footage from Patricia's disappearance, she saw the van. She saw the man. She saw Patricia approach him, help him, go limp, be guided to the van. And she saw the crowd. Dozens of people walking past. Looking away. Moving on. She saw the teenage girl who tugged her mother's sleeve. She saw the mother pull her along. She saw the girl look back once, then turn away. Elena knew she had to find that girl. 17 years old now. Would she remember? Would she remember what she saw? She found her. Her name was Jessica. She was 34 now. A teacher. A mother. She'd forgotten the incident until Elena showed her the footage. Then she remembered. I told my mom something was wrong. She said it wasn't our business. She said people get sick. She pulled me away. Elena asked if she remembered anything about the man. Jessica closed her eyes. She thought for a long time. He had a tattoo, she said, on his wrist. A small one. A snake wrapped around a cross. It was the detail that broke the case. Elena Vasquez spent 3 months searching for a man with a snake tattoo on his wrist. She interviewed delivery drivers. She visited warehouses. She showed photographs. She asked about tattoos. Most men showed her their wrists. Most had nothing. Some had names. Some had dates. One had a crucifix. But not a snake. Then she found a warehouse in East Los Angeles. A small delivery company. 12 drivers. One of them had been there since 1990. His name was Richard. Richard didn't have a driver's license photo on file. He didn't have a home address on file. He paid cash for his apartment. He paid cash for everything. Elena asked the warehouse manager if Richard had any tattoos. The manager thought for a moment. He's got something on his wrist. A snake or something. I never really looked. Elena requested Richard's employment file. There was no photograph. No emergency contact. No social security number. He'd started working there with a fake ID. No one had checked. No one had asked. On March 15, 1994, Elena and a team of officers arrived at the warehouse at 6 a.m. They waited in unmarked cars. They watched the drivers arrive. At 6:30, a man walked into the warehouse. Average height, brown hair, delivery uniform, a face that could belong to anyone. Elena watched him through binoculars. He was talking to another driver, laughing, normal, ordinary, invisible. Then he rolled up his sleeve to check his watch. And Elena saw it. A small tattoo on his wrist. A snake wrapped around a cross. She gave the signal. The SWAT team moved in. Officers surrounded the building. Elena walked through the warehouse doors, badge in hand, voice steady. Richard, you need to come with me. He turned. He looked at her. He looked at the officers. He looked at the drivers who were staring at him with shock and confusion. And then he smiled. It was the smile of a man who had fooled the world for so long that he'd forgotten he could be seen. "You found me," he said. "I wondered if anyone ever would." He didn't resist. He didn't run. He put his hands behind his back and let the officers cuff him. As they let him out, he looked back at the other drivers, the men he'd worked with for 4 years, the men who'd never really seen him. "Guess I wasn't as invisible as I thought," he said. No one laughed. Richard's trial began in October 1994. He was charged with 7 counts of kidnapping and 7 counts of murder. The prosecution presented the surveillance footage, the witness statements, the tattoo, the delivery van, the sedatives found in his apartment. They called Elena Vasquez to the stand. She described the investigation, the 50 witnesses, the way the human brain could be trained to see nothing. She described Jessica, the teenage girl who had seen something wrong and been told to look away, the girl who had remembered a tattoo 17 years later. Jessica testified. She told the court about the day her mother pulled her away. She told them about the guilt she'd carried for years. She told them she'd never ignore something that felt wrong again. The defense argued that there was no physical evidence linking Richard to the victims. No bodies, no DNA, no murder weapons. They argued that the surveillance footage was inconclusive, that the witnesses saw nothing because there was nothing to see. But the jury had seen the footage. They had seen the pattern. They had heard the testimony of 50 people who had watched a woman disappear and done nothing. They deliberated for 3 days. The verdict: guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Richard to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Before he was led away, he asked to speak. He turned to the families in the gallery. He looked at them with the same calm, empty expression he'd worn for years. "You want to know why you didn't see me? Because no one wanted to see. You see what you want to see. And no one wanted to see a killer. You wanted to see a helper, a friend, a nobody. And that's what I gave you." He was led away. The courtroom sat in silence. The story of Richard and the 50 witnesses is not just about a killer. It's about all of us. It's about what we choose to see, what we choose to ignore, what we tell ourselves is not our problem. Lesson 1. See what's in front of you. 50 people watched a woman disappear and saw nothing. Not because they were bad people. Because they weren't looking. They were busy. They were tired. They were focused on their own lives. The next time you're in a crowd, look. Really look. Notice the people around you. Notice who seems out of place. Notice who seems to need help. You might see something that saves a life. Lesson 2. Trust your discomfort. The teenage girl who saw Patricia felt something was wrong. She told her mother. Her mother told her to look away. She did. And she carried that guilt for 17 years. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to justify it. You just need to act on it. Make the call. Ask the question. Be the person who sees. Lesson 3. Uniforms and authority are not safety. Richard wore a delivery uniform. He looked official. He looked trustworthy. He looked like someone who should be helping, not harming. Don't assume someone is safe because they look like they belong. Uniforms can be bought. Authority can be faked. Trust your eyes, not their costume. Lesson 4. The bystander effect is real. The more people who witness an emergency, the less likely anyone is to help. Everyone assumes someone else will call. Everyone assumes someone else sees. Everyone assumes it's not their problem. Be the one who doesn't assume. Be the one who calls. Be the one who sees. Lesson 5. You can be invisible or you can be seen. Choose to be seen. Richard was invisible because he made himself invisible. He cultivated ordinariness. He blended in. He gave people nothing to remember. The opposite of invisibility is not fame. It's presence. It's paying attention. It's noticing. It's being the person who sees the man in the delivery uniform and the woman who looks unwell and doesn't look away. The 50 witnesses who watched Patricia disappear didn't do anything wrong. They just didn't do anything right. You can be different. You can be the one who sees. You can be the one who calls. You can be the one who makes the difference between a woman who disappears and a woman who comes home. The next time you're on a busy street, look around. Really look. See the people. Notice the details. Trust your instincts. And if something feels wrong, don't look away. Be the witness who sees. Subscribe for more chilling crime stories.